In this village was born a child named Ifeoma, daughter of Nidi, the best weaver in Douala, and Odogwu, a brave hunter known for killing a leopard with nothing but a spear and determination. Ifeoma's birth was strange. The midwives said. She came out crying with her eyes wide open, and two shadows followed her. One shadow belonged to her body. The other moved differently, as if it were alive. The elders were frightened. The chief priestess, Ezenwanye Yugo, came to see the newborn. She touched the baby's forehead and shivered. This child carries an ancient hunger. A hunger older than the spirits of the forest. Her destiny will either save this village, or destroy it. But no one understood. Ifeoma grew beautiful, dark, radiant, graceful, loved by all. But there was one problem. Her hunger was unnatural. She ate twice as much as other children. Then 4 times. Then 10 times. Food disappeared in the house like magic. Neighbors whispered. Some children mocked her. But Ifeoma herself didn't understand. When hunger seized her, it felt like a fire inside her bones. A fire that demanded to be fed. And every time she ate too much, her second shadow grew larger. When Ifeoma turned 16, she went to fetch water at the sacred river Miriyugo. It was said the river carried messages from the ancestors. That evening, the river was too quiet, no frogs croaking, no birds singing. Ifeoma knelt to scoop water. Suddenly, the river rippled, glowing silver, and a face formed on the surface. An ancient woman with white eyes. The river spirit. Child of hunger, your time has come. Ifeoma froze. The spirit continued. Your appetite is not yours. It belongs to the one who lives through you. The one your ancestors angered long ago. On the day of your wedding feast, the curse will reveal itself. Before Ifeoma could speak, the river exploded with a splash. A monstrous hand of water rose and almost lifted her. Then everything went still. The river went silent again. Ifeoma dropped her calabash and ran home trembling. But when she told her parents, they hid the truth. Her mother whispered to her father that night. It has begun. The curse from your ancestors has awakened. Odogwu didn't sleep till morning. Years later, Ifeoma grew into the most admired maiden in Douala. Men traveled from distant villages just to greet her. But she refused every suitor. She feared the prophecy. She feared her hunger. She feared her second shadow. Until she met Obinna, a tall, quiet farmer with the gentlest eyes she had ever seen. He had a peaceful spirit that calmed storms within her. Obinna loved her immediately, not because of beauty alone, but because he saw the sadness she hid. Ifeoma warned him. I am not an ordinary woman. There is something inside me, something dangerous. But Obinna smiled and said, Everyone carries a secret. Yours does not change who you are. For the first time, Ifeoma's heart softened. She allowed herself to dream of a future. The wedding preparations began. But the priestess, Ezenwanye Yugo, heard and came urgently. She pointed at Ifeoma and shouted, Stop the wedding. The feast will awaken the spirit inside her. This child is not alone. But the villagers ignored her. They believed she was simply protecting an old prophecy. Even Ifeoma herself wanted to believe it was just superstition. But deep down, her second shadow moved restlessly every night. Waiting. The day finally came. The biggest wedding Douala had ever seen. Drums shook the earth. Masquerades danced with rattling steps. Women sang while pounding yam. Men roasted goat meat on open fire. Children ran with excitement. Food filled the village square. Heavy checkmark giant pots of jollof. Heavy checkmark mortar-sized pounded yam. Heavy checkmark 3 whole goats. Heavy checkmark steaming pots of egusi. Heavy checkmark baskets of fried fish. Heavy checkmark palm wine in overflowing gourds. Everyone came to celebrate. Ifeoma arrived dressed in white and gold, glowing like moonlight. But the moment she stepped near the food, her second shadow detached itself. And no one saw it except Obinna, who stepped back in fear. It slithered behind her like a living darkness. Ifeoma's stomach twisted painfully. She tried to ignore it. She sat beside Obinna for the ceremony. But suddenly, a voice whispered inside her mind, "Feed me." Ifeoma shook her head desperately. The voice grew louder. "Feed me." Her stomach growled like thunder. People turned to look. Then, her vision blurred. Her hands trembled. Her pulse raced. The shadow whispered, "My child, it is time. Take what belongs to me." Ifeoma rose from her seat slowly and walked toward the food tents. Her mother shouted her name. Obinna called after her. But she didn't hear. Her feet were no longer hers. Inside the food tent, the aroma consumed her senses. It felt like she was floating. Her second shadow slipped under the tables, multiplying. Ifeoma grabbed a bowl of pounded yam. And another. And another. People screamed. The caterers shouted. But Ifeoma didn't stop. Her teeth moved faster. Her eyes glowed faintly gold. Her shadow stretched across the ground, swallowing other shadows. Every pot of stew emptied. Every bowl vanished. Every piece of meat disappeared. Guests rushed in and froze at the sight. Obinna pushed through the crowd. He saw his bride, sweating, eyes flickering, hands trembling, surrounded by empty pots, and a growing shadow behind her. "Ifeoma," he cried. She dropped the last bowl and sobbed. "I cannot stop it. Something inside me is eating. Not me, not me." The wind roared. The sky darkened. The priestess arrived, screaming, "The spirit of Alanwanyi has awakened. The curse has returned." Villagers panicked. Some ran. Some prayed. Some fainted. The ground shook. A booming voice filled the sky. "She belongs to me. The hunger of centuries is mine to reclaim." Ifeoma collapsed. Her second shadow rose high, changing shape into a monstrous feminine figure. Ezenwanyi Yugo raised her staff. "Long ago, your ancestor stole from the goddess of famine, Alanwanyi. To punish him, she cursed his bloodline, that one day a child would be born, with a hunger that can never be satisfied. Unless the curse is broken, the spirit will feed through her forever." The villagers trembled. Obinna knelt beside Ifeoma, grabbing her hands. "I will not leave you," he whispered. The monstrous spirit pointed at him. "If you stay beside her, you will die with her. Leave now." Obinna stood tall. "Then I die. But I will not abandon her." The spirit howled. The earth cracked. Wind tore through the wedding decorations. Ifeoma's heartbeat slowed. Her eyes closed. The spirit bent over her, ready to consume her soul. Just as the spirit stretched its claws toward Ifeoma, a roar erupted from the sacred forest. The ground trembled. Trees bowed. A blinding golden light shot into the sky, and from the forest edge stepped the guardian of Nduala, a giant lion with glowing markings, lightning in its eyes. It roared. "The girl's destiny is not to be eaten, but to break the curse." The spirit hissed. "She is mine. Her hunger belongs to me." The lion slammed its paw on the ground. A shockwave blew everyone backward. The lion spoke again. "Ifeoma must journey to the mountain of echoes. There, she will confront the true source of the hunger. Only then can she choose her fate." The spirit lunged, but the lion shielded Ifeoma. Then the lion bowed its head to Obinna. "If you love her, follow her. Her path will require courage, sacrifice, and truth. But together, you may defeat the hunger of the ancients. Obinna nodded. The villagers watched in fear as the lion lifted Ifeoma gently onto its back. Her eyes opened weakly. She whispered, "Obinna, don't let me become a monster." He kissed her hand. "I will follow you to the end of the earth." The lion roared, and the journey began. The lion spirit carried Ifeoma into the forest, with Obinna and the priestess Ezenwanyi Yugo following on foot. 3 other villagers, Icom, a strong youth, Adaora, a skilled herbalist, and Motsi Onwachekwa, an old storyteller, insisted on joining. They believed that whatever threatened Ifeoma also threatened the village. The deeper they went, the colder the air became, though the sun still shone above the trees. The forest path was strange. From every direction, they heard stomachs rumbling, but not from themselves. Invisible voices moaned, "We are hungry. We are always hungry." Ifeoma, lying across the lion's back, clutched her belly. The sound fed the fire inside her, awakening the gnawing familiar emptiness. Ezenwanyi Yugo spoke firmly, "Do not answer them in your mind. If you pity them, they will drag your spirit into their hunger." Obinna walked beside the lion, holding Ifeoma's hand whenever he could reach it. "Just look at me," he told her. "Not at the shadows. Not at the trees. Me." Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. Her second shadow still moved on its own, sometimes stretched ahead, sometimes lagging behind, sometimes slithering on the trees like living smoke. At dusk, they reached a fork in the path. On one side, the road was wide and full of ripe fruit trees. The air smelled delicious and warm. On the other side, the path was narrow and dry, with thorns and gray rocks, leading uphill. Ifeoma's stomach roared at the sight of fruit. The lion said quietly, "The wide road feeds your body. The narrow path frees your soul. Choose." Ifeoma bit her lip. Her tongue tasted dust. Her bones ached with hunger. She could almost hear the fruits calling her name. Obinna looked at the rough road, then at her. "Ifeoma, I cannot choose for you," he whispered. "But I will walk wherever you walk." She looked at the 2 paths. Then slowly, with tears in her eyes, she pointed to the thorny uphill path. "I have eaten enough for 10 lifetimes. Let my feet suffer, not my village." And so they took the narrow way. That night, for the first time since the wedding, her second shadow shrank, just a little. After 2 days of walking, they reached a strange settlement at the edge of the world, a small village with beautiful clay houses, but no smoke, no laughter, no movement. Every door was open. Every compound was quiet. The wind moved, but no human voice answered. They walked in cautiously. There were pots everywhere, inside houses, outside kitchens, beside doorways, near broken hearths. Every single pot was empty. Icom entered one of the houses and came out trembling. "There are plates on the tables," he whispered. "But no food. No bones. No crumbs. Not even ants." Adaora checked another hut. Same thing. Only empty plates. Empty baskets. Empty pots. At the center of the village square, there was a large stone, and on that stone, a message was carved. "We fed without thanks. We ate without sharing. Now our hunger has no body." Motsi Onwachekwa shook his head sadly. "This is the village that angered Alanwanyi first," he said. "They hoarded food during famine, locked their barns, watched others starve, and refused to share. The goddess sent a spirit of endless hunger that devoured not just their food, but their very existence." Ifeoma's chest grew tight. "Is that what will happen to me?" she asked quietly. "Will I also vanish into hunger?" The lion spoke. "Not if you learn what they refused to learn. Hunger that never shares, never fills." As they left the silent village, Ifeoma noticed something. Every time her thoughts turned selfish, "I wish all this food were mine. I wish I could eat without anyone seeing. Her second shadow stretched longer over the empty pots. But when she prayed silently for the lost souls of the village, the shadow drew back. Silently, she began to understand. Her hunger was not just about food. It was about taking without giving. On the 5th day, they saw it. The mountain of echoes. It towered above the land like a sleeping giant, its top hidden in clouds, its sides covered in dark stone and patches of stubborn grass. Thunder rumbled around it, even though the sky above the forest was clear. The lion stopped at the base. "My path ends here," it said. "Beyond this point, only the one bound by the curse and those willing to share her burden may climb." Ezenwanyi Yugo, Obinna, Adaora, Ikem, and Motsi Onwachekwa stayed close to Ifeoma. "We are going with her," Obinna said without hesitation. The lion's eyes glowed approvingly. "Then hear this, on this mountain, everything you say returns to you. Every word echoes back with power. Speak carelessly, and your own tongue will curse you." They began to climb. The wind howled around them, carrying whispers from long ago. As they climbed higher, Ifeoma felt the hunger burning fiercely, as if the higher they went, the more the ancient curse tried to push back. Halfway up, a voice boomed from the rocks. "Ifeoma, child of the cursed bloodline, why do you climb?" It was the voice of Alanwanyi, the spirit of famine herself. Ifeoma's second shadow rose again, now taller than any of them. "I climb to break what you placed in me," Ifeoma said, her voice shaking but loud. "I climb to free my people." The mountain repeated in a terrifying echo. "I climb to break. To free my people. My people. My people." A burst of wind nearly threw them off the mountain, but they held onto the rocks and kept climbing. Finally, they reached a narrow ledge, where a dark cave mouth yawned open. Inside the cave, a strange glow pulsed like a heartbeat. The priestess spoke. "This is where the curse lives." Inside the mountain, the air was heavy and warm. The walls glistened like black glass, and the floor felt alive under their feet. They entered a vast chamber lit by an eerie, golden-red glow. At the far end of the chamber was a throne made of bones and empty bowls. And on that throne sat Alanwanyi, the spirit of famine, tall, thin, with hollow glowing eyes and skin like cracked earth. Her hair flowed like smoke, and when she moved, it sounded like dry leaves scraping on stone. Beside her stood another figure, slim, dark, with Ifeoma's face. Her second shadow, now fully human-looking. This version of Ifeoma smiled cruelly. "Finally," the shadow said. "We meet properly." Real Ifeoma shivered. "What are you?" she whispered. "I am you without restraint, without empathy, without sharing," the shadow replied. "I am everything you feel when you want more than everyone else. I am your deeper hunger." Alanwanyi raised a bony hand. "This is how the curse works," she said. "Long ago, your ancestors stole grain from a famine shrine and hid it while children died. I punished his bloodline with a spirit of hunger that would one day return to me, strong enough to feed worlds." She pointed at Ifeoma. "You are that vessel. You ate your wedding feast not because you are wicked, but because I called what is mine. You were meant to surrender to this hunger and become my mouth in the world." Obinna stepped forward angrily. "She is not your vessel. She is a person." The spirit's eyes flashed. "And what will you do, mortal man? Hit me with your bare hands." He shook his head. "No. But I will not leave her side, no matter what you say. If she is cursed, then curse me too. If she must suffer, then I suffer with her." The cave quaked as his words echoed. "I suffer with her. With her. With her." The chain holding Ifeoma to the curse cracked slightly, a tiny, almost invisible shift. Alanwanyi narrowed her eyes. "Ah. So love has entered the hall of hunger." Alanwanyi stood from her throne, and the hall transformed. Before them appeared 3 large plates, floating in the air. 1 gold, 1 silver, 1 clay. On the golden plate was the most delicious feast they had ever smelled. Bountiful meat, rich stew, sweet fruits, steaming yam, spicy fish. The aroma alone almost drove Ifeoma mad. On the silver plate lay food enough for all her companions and herself, simple but filling portions. On the clay plate was only a small loaf of bread and a little water. The goddess spoke. Here is the test that decides your fate. If you choose the golden plate and eat all you desire, I will free you from shame, but I will take your village. They will vanish like the village of empty pots. If you choose the silver plate, you and your companions will eat well and leave alive, but your hunger curse will remain forever. If you choose the clay plate, the smallest portion, barely enough for one, I will decide what to do with you based on your heart. Ifeoma trembled. Her stomach screamed for the golden plate. Her tongue burned at the smell. Her second shadow self laughed mockingly. Take the gold, the shadow hissed. Your village never understood you anyway. Eat and forget them. You deserve this. Obina's eyes glistened with tears. Ifeoma, he whispered, we cannot choose for you. This is your battle. But remember, whatever you pick, I will stand with you. Adora and Icum lowered their eyes, too afraid to say more. The priestess simply watched. Ifeoma took a step toward the plates. Her mind burned with voices. You deserve relief, you've suffered, they mocked you, you were hungry, you were always hungry, just once choose yourself. Her hand stretched toward the golden plate, shaking. She could already feel the juicy meat in her mouth, the warm stew, the sweet fruits. Then she remembered her parents' faces when she finished the wedding food. The crying children who went home hungry. The villagers who looked at her with fear and disappointment. Obina fainting on the ground. The lion saying, hunger that never shares, never fills. Ifeoma stopped. Her hand dropped. Slowly, she walked past the golden plate, past the silver plate, and put both hands on the clay plate. I choose the smallest, she said, voice cracking. Not for myself, but for everyone I have hurt. If this little bread is all I deserve, let it be so. But please, spare my people. Her shadow self screamed in rage, clawing at her. Alanwanyi raised a finger. Eat. The goddess ordered. Ifeoma picked the bread, broke it into 5 pieces, and gave each person, Obina, Yugo, Adora, Icum, Motsi, some, keeping the smallest piece for herself. They all ate. The crumbs vanished into their mouths. And suddenly, everyone felt full, as if they had eaten a full feast. Even Ifeoma. For the first time in her life, her hunger went completely, utterly silent. Her second shadow shattered like glass. Alanwanyi watched with cold eyes that slowly softened. The spirit of famine sat back on her throne and sighed like an old woman. Your ancestors showed greed during scarcity, she said. But you have shown sacrifice in abundance. You chose the hardest path. She looked around at the companions. You shared your little with others. That is the one thing my curse could not swallow. She turned her gaze to Ifeoma again. The hunger in you was a weapon. But you chose to suffer rather than become a monster. For that, I will release your village from my wrath. Ifeoma sagged with relief. But, Alanwanyi continued, no curse breaks without a price. Obina stepped forward instantly. Take me, he said. If a life is required, take mine. She has suffered enough. The hall gasped. Even the spirit paused. A mortal offering himself, she murmured. Strange times. Ifeoma cried out. No. Don't touch him. I will pay any price but not his life. The mountain echoed violently. Any price but not his life. Not his life. Not his life. The goddess stared at them both. At their tears. At their joined hands. At the priestess standing firm behind them. Very well, she said at last. I will not take his life. But I will mark you both. Light streamed from her hands, weaving through the air like glowing ropes. It wrapped around Ifeoma's wrist like a bracelet. It wrapped around Obina's wrist as well, connecting them. From this day, Alanwanyi declared. Your hunger will not be for food, but for justice and mercy. Wherever people are hoarding grain while others starve, your spirits will not rest. Your lives must be spent feeding the needy, breaking greed, and teaching sharing. This is the price. A life of responsibility. Motsi Onwachekwa bowed his head. That is not a curse, he whispered. That is an honor. Ifeoma wiped her tears. If feeding others is my burden, she said, then let it be heavy. Obinna squeezed her hand. And I will carry it with you. The goddess of famine gave a long, tired smile. Then go. Your wedding feast began your curse. Now let it begin your calling. With a wave of her hand, the mountain roared, light exploded, and they found themselves back at the base, the lion waiting. When they returned to Nduala, the village gathered in shock. People expected Ifeoma to come back as a monster, or not at all. Instead, she walked with her head high, her face calm, her wrist glowing with a faint bracelet of light. Obinna walked beside her, bearing the same mark. Her parents ran to embrace her, weeping. We are sorry, her father said. We hid the truth from you. We should have told you about the ancestral curse. Ifeoma hugged him back. You did what you thought would protect me. Now I know. The priestess called the villagers together in the square. There, she told the whole story, about Alanwanyi, about the hunger spirit, about the 3 plates, and about the choice to share the smallest portion. Some villagers cried out in shame, remembering how they had mocked Ifeoma for something she could not control. An old woman stepped forward and knelt before her. I judged you, the woman confessed. I called you a glutton. I forgot that some hungers are deeper than food. Please forgive me. Ifeoma lifted her up. I forgive you, she said gently. But from today, no child will sleep hungry in this village again while any barn is full. From that day, granaries were no longer locked with selfishness. The village created a common barn where food was kept for widows, orphans, and the poor. Whenever anyone tried to hoard, their grains mysteriously soured. Whenever anyone shared, their barns overflowed. People started saying, the bride who ate the wedding feast now feeds the whole land. In time, Ifeoma and Obinna married again, this time with a very small feast, mostly given out to the poor and travelers who had nothing to eat. And still, her stomach remained calm. She became known as Nnenri, the mother of food. Obinna became known as Okparandu, the son of life. Together, they traveled to nearby villages, teaching how to share food when famine comes, how to care for those without barns of their own, how greed invites curses deeper than any spirit. Whenever they entered a new town, the bracelets on their wrists glowed bright whenever someone suffered in secret hunger nearby. They would find that person, feed them, and teach the village to do better. Years passed. The story of the girl who ate all the food at her wedding turned into something different. Grandmothers told it at night, by moonlight. Once, there was a girl cursed with endless hunger. But instead of becoming a monster, she climbed a mountain and chose the smallest portion, shared it with others, and turned her curse into compassion. Children would ask, why did she eat all the food that day? And the grandmothers would smile and answer, because sometimes, the worst day of your life is only the doorway to the purpose you never knew you had. Sheaf of rice morals of the story. Hunger is not only in the stomach, it can live in the heart. Hunger for more, for selfishness, for taking without sharing. Greed today can become a curse tomorrow, even for generations not yet born. True love does not run away from your battles. It stands beside you in front of them. The smallest sacrifice you make sincerely can break the biggest curse over your life. Sharing is a spiritual power. What you give with an open hand, you never truly lose.